They are a special caste, the elite of the Russian Navy. On a submarine, either everyone dies or everyone wins, when the sky cannot be seen for weeks, when there are hundreds of meters of the ocean above your head, when calling your relatives is a luxury. Any submariner is a hero because of his chosen profession. The commander of the submarine sometimes has only seconds to decide. In their hands, they have modern weapons and unique technologies. They are submariners. Their service is surrounded by proud mystery and secrecy. Who are these people, and why is their service an everyday feat? Day of the Navy. The parade in Kola Bay. This is a great luck for sailors. A holiday isn't on the day when they're on duty. Now the crews of underwater and surface ships meet face to face. Most often, during maneuvers or combat, they are just dots on the screens for each other. The nuclear submarine is at a mooring buoy slightly aside. This is a rare occasion when the sailors are in the public eye. After all, submarines perform strategic tasks to protect the interests of Russia while remaining invisible. The closed city of Gazieva. The population is about 13,000 people. The base of the Northern Fleet of Russia and the mooring place of the nuclear submarines. Bryansk is preparing for the next campaign. Every morning on the dock begins with the formation of the entire crew, or 140 people. Dress right! The crew of the nuclear submarine K-117 Bryansk is lined up for raising the ensign of the Russian fleet, Captain Second-Ranked Manin, at ease. Through 110 years of the Russian Navy's history, submarines have grown from small ships to huge missile carriers. This is the embodiment of advanced engineering solutions, the concentration of technology in a steel hull. Good morning, sir. Flag! Jack! Fly the flags! Flag! Jack! Fly the flags! For a submariner, each campaign is both being ready for danger and waiting for an adventure. This is the anticipation of meeting with the power of the ocean, which only a few see and feel. The nuclear submarines of the Project 667 BDRM, Delphin with RSM-54 rockets, Sineva are the basis of the Russian Naval Strategic Nuclear Forces. The displacement is more than 18,000 tons. The length is 167 meters. The width is almost 12 meters. The boat can go to a depth of 650 meters and spend 90 days in autonomous navigation. the commander of Bryansk, Dmitry Ushakov, decided to become a submariner while still studying at the Naval Institute. And then, after graduation, he did everything to go to sea. In 2002, he got to the Northern Fleet. Even then, he set serious goals for himself. At the initial stage, when I came as a young lieutenant, the task was just to become a commander of a combat unit. Not just a commander of a combat unit, but a good commander of a combat unit. Then I moved up the commander ladder and began to master the submarine control. Seven years after beginning his service, Dmitry Ushakov became the commander's right hand, an executive officer. He participated in historic campaigns. He studied all the time, mastered new techniques and technologies in order to command the crew independently a few years later. The upper conning tower hatch is battened down. Report leaks. Now, as the commander of Bryansk, he understands what it is like to be a man with such responsibilities on his shoulders. From the moment you take command of a ship, you constantly live with it. And even when you get home from the ship, you constantly think of what's going on the ship. You never leave it for a long time, maximum from evening to morning. Comrade Commander, the Squadron Commander 3 is ready for dive. Yes, damage control, Squadron Commander. There is a signal that all the sea inlets are closed. High-pressure air stock is united. Blow the main tank, except the middle. There is a campaign ahead which will last several weeks. What task was put to the crew of Bryansk this time? This, of course, will remain a secret, which they will not discuss even to their close ones. Russian nuclear submarines are born here. Submariners is the only shipyard in the country where the whole cycle of construction and testing of vessels for the Russian Navy takes place. The shipbuilding complex in Severodvinsk appeared in 1938. A large shipbuilding program was immediately implemented at the shipyard. We have built unique objects over these years. 132 nuclear-powered subs, an aircraft carrier that crossed 3 oceans, got in strong storms. So, there is also an ice-resistant platform which operates today in hard Arctic conditions, where the pressure of large ice fields is huge, and it's possible to collide into icebergs. Here, ships that are speed and depth record breakers are launched. The Enterprise has the largest shipbuilding slipways in covered berths in Russia. These are huge workshops, incredible production rates and capacities. About 25,000 specialists work here. They have at their disposal unique technologies and equipment that make it possible to build the most powerful ships in the world. Submariners is a unique company. Our welders, our metal vessel hull assemblers, our assembler builders, installers, insulators, pipe operators. They are the best in Russia because harder work isn't done anywhere else. And I'm convinced that the Submariners staff, well, there are no equals to them today. They are the best in Russia. I think for the complexity of the work, the specialists can perform. A submarine is built in several stages. While in one workshop, the inside part of the ship is put together, the hull is assembled in another, or, more precisely, welded. Each millimeter of the welding seam, there are tens of thousands of kilometers on a submarine, which must withstand the pressure of hundreds of tons of water. In addition to high-strength steel in the construction of submarines, titanium-based alloys are widely used. This metal has unique properties. It's durable, lightweight, and non-corrosive. In addition to constant monitoring at every stage of the construction, there are several test cycles. For instance, at the slipways, the boat is connected with shore sources of water, compressed air, electricity. Charging systems are checked. After the stage of mooring trials is completed, the stage of full-scale testing begins. When the nuclear heart of the ship is started, the reactor and all the systems, mechanisms, and equipment of the ship are tested with their own source of energy. When this stage is completed, the ship goes to sea for factory and state sea tests. The future crew also participates in them. The nuclear submarine Bryansk again puts to sea to fulfill the task set by the authorities. A submarine of this class is a small city with its own laws, infrastructure, and timetable. In the galley, the work goes on almost round the clock. Bon appetit! At ease, thank you. Bon appetit, comrade officers. The menu has about 140 dishes. Sometimes it seems that on the submarine, everybody is constantly eating. You can say this is true. There is breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, just like daily duties, in 3 shifts, in turns, and at a strictly particular time. A special place is the medical unit. Anything can happen during a campaign, from a cold to appendicitis. Of course, no one will wait for the return to shore, and there might not be any communication with the outer world. So, a doctor on a submarine is both a physician, an ophthalmologist, a dentist, and a surgeon. The size of Bryansk allow having a full-scale operating theater with all the necessary equipment. You start getting used to small rooms, confined spaces already during training on land. In Gadzhievo, in the training complex, the crew take tests in the standards for damage control and the basics of rescue training. You won't be let to sea without this. Yuri Zinchenko is a third-generation sailor. His whole family, one way or another, relates to the Navy. My grandfather and father served as officers on surface ships. I also have a middle brother. He is serving in Severomorsk, a midshipman on a surface ship. And my younger sister, well, isn't far from the Navy. She works as a psychologist in the Center for Psychological Assistance of the Northern Fleet. Now, Yuri Zinchenko is the commander of the hydroacoustic group on Bryansk and is taking these tests not for the first time. But here are no posts and titles. Everyone is equal before the instructor. The basis of safety in an emergency is a correctly assembled and configured insulating breathing apparatus. Every submariner should clearly understand how it works and how to use it. In theory, everything seems simple and straightforward. But now you need to configure your own breathing apparatus and put on a rescue diving suit. This is a rubber suit that, thanks to a complex system of straps and valves, protects against contact with water if you have to leave the boat. If the air containers are properly connected, you can get at the depths of 60 meters in such equipment. In this case, the necessary pressure is maintained and surfacing will be safe. In the boots of the diving suit, there are special lead insoles so that a submariner doesn't surface upside down. Now, in the training center, such test dives are being carried out. This dive will show who won't come up dry. So, your task is, after the command, check your hermetic seal, dive with your head, sit there for 10 to 15 seconds, then ascend 1, 2 steps. Show the sign OK. Show it if you have a hermetic seal. If you do not, wave your hand. When you reach the bottom, give me a signal. I am at the bottom. I feel OK. Give it, I'll duplicate. After that, I'll give you a command to surface. I'll pull 3 times. 1, 2, 3. You duplicate. And climb the ladder. During your descent, it is forbidden to cough, sneeze, hold your breath. Is your breathing okay? Is the task clear? Check your hermetic seal. You shouldn't take deep breaths, or this can lead to barotrauma. When due to a sudden change in pressure, pulmonary tissues are torn. Surface. After the trial drive, the main tests begin. The development of rescue techniques. Now it's a fight against water, or rather, against a hole in the hull of the ship. Now, in the compartment of the submarine, there are 5 people, and everyone clearly understands what they will do when the water flows. The task is to stop the leak with the help of so-called patches and a sliding metal stop. All this must be done in a bulky, uncomfortable suit in the dim light of emergency lamps. The first hole is closed easily, but then the water starts leaking from the second. Only fire can be scarier than holes on a submarine. The acquiring of the necessary skills also begins with a theory. Comrades, we are working on the techniques of fighting against fire. An oxygen-breathing gas mask, a counterlung, an air-purifying filter are all in the box of SCBA. This is a self-contained breathing apparatus, which submariners always carry with them when they are on the submarine. And now we've got to work at how to apply it correctly and how to breathe with its help. During a fire, this will protect against carbon monoxide poisoning. You work with the hose. You work with the reel. Do not clap on each other's bags. Do not take off the mask if you feel ill. Then the submariners are sent to the so-called fire complex. After the bulkhead is closed, a flame is applied. Here, the most important thing to remember is that the fire hose, which is in both the training and a real-life compartment, must be completely unwound from the reel so as not to cut the supply of water for extinguishing. A small fire is eliminated with a fire extinguisher. The crew also works at an evacuation plan from the submarine through the torpedo room. Basically, it is a pipe of a small diameter, about 7 meters long, which must be overcome in the same bulky dive suit. First, you go in order. First, second, third. After the command, get into the compartment. You'll have your apparatus turned on. Then we ask if we can begin to increase the pressure. It is important not only to crawl to the goal, but also to send signals to those who are still in the submarine. For example, one stroke. This is the question, how are you feeling? And the same one stroke is the answer, good. If 3 strokes are heard from the compartment, this is the command to exit. The same answer means that the path has been successfully overcome. Is your breathing okay? Exit through a torpedo compartment is a developed lock system, a clearly specified instruction for equalizing the pressure. Close the back cover of the vault. Start filling the torpedo tube. Close the back cover of the vault. Start filling the torpedo tube. When the access door closes behind the submariner, he starts breathing with the apparatus. In less than a minute, the pressure in the chamber is equalized with the outboard. Then the locking begins. The chamber is filled up with water up to 3/4. As soon as the crew member leaves the training submarine, the top cover closes behind him. The chamber is dried and the whole process begins again. Any sea campaign is a constant study of instructions, requirements of the regulatory documents. This is constant practice in training centers. Bryansk is already in the open sea. The crew is ready to dive. Boatswain, set depth at 70 meters. Angle on the bow, 3. Set depth at 70 meters. Angle on the bow, 3. 6th, over. "24 meters, angle on the bow, 3. 30 meters, angle on the bow, 3. The depth is 70 meters. The angle, 0. The submarine remains at the same depth. Secure the depth of 50 meters. Almost everything that was done in the training complex is constantly practiced on the submarine. This is done to make each action of the crew their second nature, and a drill can be sounded at any time. This is a drill. There is a fire in the 6th compartment. Switchboard 4-1 is burning. 6th, received. Comrade Commander, switchboard 4-1 is on fire. Received, Commander. Emergency drill. Fire in compartment 6. Create a defense line on the stern bulkhead, the bow bulkhead of the 7th compartment. Received. Instructions for the crew are given instantly. The commander gives the tasks clearly and quickly. Not only supposedly burning compartments come into motion, but also all the services of the ship. How events will develop in a real situation is impossible to predict, so the captain keeps the whole crew on their toes and complicates the task, gives an order for an emergency surfacing at the highest possible speed. Right, damage control, aye. Submarine surfacing, emergency surfacing, ahead full speed, maximum, emergency surfacing, make all preparations for surfacing, make all preparations on surfacing, 35, blow the middle, blow the middle. Surfacing and diving for the crew of a submarine are the same as taking off and landing on an aircraft for the pilot. It's necessary to monitor dozens of devices. Carelessness or inattention can be too expensive. Security is above all else for us, especially for submarines. They are designed to secure the crew's lives and not to allow their death in any case. So basically, a nuclear submarine is a totally safe place, in my opinion, if all the necessary measures are carried out, of course. There are no extra drills in the submarine fleet. Now they are extinguishing the fire in the 6th compartment. This is a drill. Fire in the 6th compartment. The compressor 3 is on fire. Seal the compartment. Start putting out with an air foam extinguisher, the air foam fire smothering system. And now, not only those who fight against the fire are working on cooperation skills, but it concerns the whole crew. Open the hatch. Activate hydrophilic devices. Switchboard 41 is on fire, putting out with an air foam fire smothering system and extinguisher. The condition of the personnel is satisfactory. The crew coped with the drill. Well, I know all of my personnel. Not only officers and commanders of combat units, but also midshipmen, sailors, foremen, their characteristics. Yeah. And sometimes it's not necessary to give commands for something to be done, so that it will be done. There is a closer interaction. Everyone knows each other well. Moreover, they are here, in this solid hull, not for the first time. When the submarine puts to sea, the crew's families remain in their home port. And, as the sailors admit, it is very important when someone is waiting for you on shore. Chris! Attention! At the command of the combat unit commander. Leading seaman, Oleg Mikhanoshin, didn't tell his bride about his work at once. After his confession of love, he had to admit the rest of the story. Well, I think it's hard to come from the north, from central Russia, especially to the far north, yes, and to get used to it immediately. No, the adaptation took place, of course. Well, it was all about time. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And she got used to it. She got used to the climate. Now Galina, already a wife, not a bride, is used to it. Of course, it can be very difficult. Wives of submariners also perform a feat. Maybe their own, but a feat anyway.
Well, you're almost on your own. Because when they're far away, you stay alone. This is a rare case when some relatives come here and help. He tries not to talk about what they had there on the sub. I know almost nothing about his service. It's less stressful in a way. Well, sometimes I want to know what's happening there. Sometimes he returns so angry.
The commander of the Bryansk, Dmitry Ushakov, brought Natalia to the north from Yaroslavl in 2009. She was very frightened then. To stay alone while her husband was at work was unusual. So even now, they go together on business trips. They part only for the duration of the campaigns. For me, my family is the ambience where people love and wait for me. This is a part of me. If I have free time off from my service, I always try to spend it with my family. Katya, come down. Get down. Daddy's worried. Dmitry has 2 daughters. It's always fun and noisy, especially when Dad is around. Of course, in the sea you always think about the family. Like how my little girls are on shore alone. How they cope with all the difficulties. And there is a feeling that I'm doing the right job, not only for the sake of the whole country and the state, but also for my family. While you are on shore, you need to catch up with as much as possible. Spend time with children, visit friends, or as the commander of the communication group on Bryansk, Denis Dragoon, go in for sports. He's been in the Northern Fleet since 2010. He's always had a dream to become a submariner. Being a submariner is very difficult, but at the same time, it's a very interesting profession that allows a young person to know himself, to gain experience, to know his character, to demonstrate it when necessary, to become stronger both physically and psychologically. Every day, Dennis spends at least an hour in the gym. In Gajieva, a new health complex was built where you don't need to buy a membership or find time for scheduled trainings. The complex is open for submariners' families. Although it's the far north, but nature here is so diverse and amazing that you can find an activity for yourself all year round. Fishing, hunting, a lot of people are interested in this. Well, our region is suitable for it. Well, in the summertime, some people pick mushrooms, berries. But now friends and family are on shore. And the crew again has a campaign ahead to fulfill the tasks of combat training. They also work at launching missiles. In this case, every second counts. Comrade Commander, at 13:57 and 59 seconds in the operating radio units, an order for the use of missiles was received. Received. Missile attack. Attack course 240. Underwater launch. Missile attack. The personnel of Combat Unit 2 leave the missile compartments, create defensive lines at the bow and stern bulkheads of the missile compartments. The commanders of defensive lines, compartment commanders. Comrade Commander, the missile operational unit is ready for a missile attack. Preparation for launching is also the work of the entire crew as a single organism. Each has his own area of responsibility. The air foam fire smothering system is ready for launch. 1 minute 55 seconds since receiving the order. Received executive order. Commander of the Combat Unit 2, running automatic pre-launch check. Running automatic pre-launch check. Normal launch conditions. Normal launch conditions. Normal launch conditions. Comrade Commander, normal launch conditions. 2 minutes 15 seconds since receiving the order. Received executive order. When real, not training missiles are fired throughout the submarine, there is a vibration. For example, when firing a missile from a depth of 50 meters, the preparation for launching takes about 9 minutes. During this time, data is entered into the onboard computer. Then the missile tanks are inflated. The pressure is leveled with the outboard. The shaft is gradually filled with water with the help of the pump, and only then the lid is opened, just before firing. Then the first stage engine is started and the missile flies out. The interval between launches takes less than a minute. Comrade Commander, first launch. Start launch. Submarines of the project Delphin carry intercontinental ballistic missiles Sineva. For more than 10 years, they have remained unrivaled. The missiles can be launched from a depth of 55 meters. Sineva can carry 4 or 10 individually aimed warheads. According to the results of the tests, a record of the flight range is over 11,000 kilometers. Such drills are practiced almost weekly at different times of the day, so that each member of the crew would make the execution of the commands his second nature. Although there are a lot of people, they are all occupied, and the outcome of the whole operation depends on the actions of every single person. In 2006, the Sineva missiles were launched from the North Pole. Then, Rear Admiral Sergei Rachuk commanded the campaign. The campaign was planned to include training missile launching. New missiles entered service at the time, Sineva, and shooting had to be at the minimum distance, not at the maximum, but at the minimum. In that area, it was a polar region launching, had never been carried out before yet, so there was a certain risk.
Данным комплексом стрельбы не проводились еще, поэтому был определенный риск.
This was the largest military drill for the fleet of the decade. The crew was given a huge responsibility. We'd been looking for an ice hole for a long time. I mean, even though we had data from aerial reconnaissance. But anyway, we had 6 hours to find an ice hole. If we hadn't found it, we'd have come back with no results. But nevertheless, we found a crevice between the ice. We surfaced and reported to the command post. And after that, we carried out training missile launch. We were worried, really worried. At the time of launching, the submarine was at the North Pole. Having covered more than 2,500 kilometers, the missile struck a training target at the Chizha training ground on the Kanin Peninsula. After the campaign, Sergei Radchuk received the title of Hero of Russia, and other crew members were given state awards. There was a spacecraft, an orbital station controlled by 3 to 4 people. The submarine had 140 people, and each of them controlled something. Therefore, of course, a mistake of one can lead to a very serious consequence for all others. The periscope is being raised with a signal. The current commander of Bryansk, Dmitry Ushakov, also took part in that campaign, and in many others that followed it. In 2009, when I was second in command, the same tasks were performed on Bryansk. Also a voyage in the polar region with missile fire exercises to demonstrate the presence of our country's military forces. The Arctic zone has always been a strategically important region, so now techniques for under-ice navigation and launching are being developed. Nuclear submarines have a huge safety factor. Systems of hydroacoustics, navigation, weapons complexes, turbines, power plants are constantly being improved. The ships are regularly upgraded. Several years ago, Bryansk was also upgraded. The noise level was lowered, and the equipment which gives better recognition of underwater and surface objects was installed. The submarine passed all the tests and returned to service. Today, the concept of the Navy construction until 2015 is being developed. All 4 generic components of the Navy are being developed. If we talk about the submarine forces, then of course they are. First, the construction of the 4th generation ships. These are submarines of the Bore type. These are submarines of the Yasen type. Of course, we're satisfied with the quality of both the preparation and the level of the design bureau and the production technologies at Northern Machine Building Enterprise that builds these huge ships for us. Only those who can be trusted with the most powerful weapons of the country serve in the submarine forces. Any submariner is a hero because of his chosen profession. And you don't need to have this golden medal to be called a hero. As you know, a sailor has neither an easy nor difficult way. A sailor has a glorious path. These are Nakhimov's words. This is a difficult path, a confined space, the same people, hard tasks. To cope with all of this, the motivation must be stronger than financial well-being or satisfaction of ambitions. This is psychologically hard, and we had cases when contract soldiers came to us, went out on a very short campaign at sea, refused to continue. I mean, they say, I quit, and so on. It's not for me. Those real-life situations in which you perhaps want to abandon everything, shout, fly off the handle on a submarine, it's just impossible and forbidden to do. To join the team, you need to pass a strict selection for compatibility with all the other crew members. And of course, a special responsibility is on the commander. Who's the quickest? Aye. Report to the conning tower. Of course, being always ready for battle.
Постоянно готов к бою.
The commander of a submarine sometimes has only seconds to decide.
Секунды решают.
And it is really true in naval combat,
Потому что
because
корабли
ships today are low noise.
малошумные,
The distance of mutual detection is short,
небольшие.
and here everything depends on
Здесь
seconds,
всё зависит от
and there are
секунд.
no other
И
options.
других вариантов
The commander must be
нет.
constantly
Командир должен постоянно
be prepared for any
быть
situation.
готовым к любой ситуации.
Therefore, the commander of any submarine is constantly learning. It is necessary to have perfect knowledge of navigation, to understand submarine and military hydroacoustics, not to mention the construction of a nuclear reactor and nuclear weapons. This knowledge is regularly tested in the framework of large-scale military exercises. It can be said that the number of military drills and their intensity in the last few years have grown. It is not what is being done on a particular submarine, but the scale of the exercises, the involvement of various force types of the fleet, and not only in the fleet, I mean the Northern Fleet, but also of the armed forces of Russia. Our submarine repeatedly took part in such military drills. This, of course, this gives more experience for the crew for further activities. People who made a conscious choice serve here. A submariner, like a pilot, like an astronaut, like an infantryman, like a tank operator, like any man of the military profession, is primarily a defender of the fatherland, and he must be a professional in his field. The Russian Navy provides reliable protection of the interests of the state. This is the main component and basis of the country's maritime potential. A special role today is assigned to the submarine fleet. It is the crushing power which acts secretly and performs tasks in any areas of the world's oceans. On the farthest fronts, and at any moment the crew of the Bryansk, like crews of other submarines, is ready to fulfill the orders of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief.